it is in everyday life. And yeah, I know when we generalise, there's people out there who'll, you know, give them an inch, they'll take a mile and all that. That's not what we're here to talk about. But generally speaking, you need to pay, your clients especially, need to pay more attention to themselves, their feelings, their perceptions, their beliefs, arguably, metaphorically, their computer software. And you as the therapist are going to go in, kind of delete the negative programs that are running and can give them some antivirus software for the mind that they can run on an automatic daily basis through repetition of listening to the audio recording we spoke about yesterday, that becomes just as effective, in fact 10 times more effective than if they were in the room there with you. And yeah, that then becomes their new reality and helps through repetition give them the thought processes, the beliefs, the perceptions to things that are from the new perspective of the new programs they're running, rather than the feeling perhaps a gap or an imbalance in one of those areas we spoke about that was instilled when they were younger. And inner child therapy, which I'll talk about later, so I'm just going to write a note to myself, can, when you get a really problematic client, if you choose to end up in that situation or it unfortunately happens to you, can become very useful. But for the vast majority of people, CMT is all you'll ever need. So yeah, APET, APET or APET, it stands for, A is for activating agent, which could also be activating agent. It's the thing they see or hear or taste or smell or feel or think about, get reminded of maybe. It's the trigger. P is for pattern matching, because when we have an experience it goes into the filing cabinet of the brain, the computer bank. And when we see that trigger or image, our brain unconscious goes, look through the filing cabinet, look through the filing cabinet. Oh yeah, there's a picture of a spider like the one I've just seen. How am I supposed to react? Oh, last time I was really scared. I better be really scared this time. And in that split second, it creates the letter E. The emotion of fear, which is that feeling the person suddenly gets. And as they, in the same moment they get that feeling, it creates the letter T, the thought. And that thought is, for fuck's sake, I need to get out of here and get somebody to remove that spider in that scenario. Because of the way they've been linked up through the pain and pleasure we talked about yesterday. So what our job is, we can't realistically remove the activating agent permanently, because we can't guarantee they're never going to encounter seeing a spider again. Okay? I know there's some scenarios where if someone's got a phobia of, I don't know, phobia of sharks, then quite simply don't watch films with sharks in, don't go to SeaWorld and don't go places where the sharks. Could be an option. But let's just say it's stuff where there isn't that kind of simplistic option, because they might see a spider. So we can't really do much about that. So what happens when they see a spider at the minute? The brain goes, look for the picture of the spider. What happened last time? Oh, I got shit scared. That creates the emotion of fear, creates the thought, I better get out of here. And that's all happening in a split second. So the bit that we need to change is the filing cabinet of the brain. So that when they see a spider in future, the brain does its thing. It goes, spider image, pulls it out, looks at it and goes, it's alright, it's a laughable spider. It's got, you know, Wellington boots on every leg, a big clown's nose on, a silly party hat. In fact, it's dressed up like it's a male spider, it's dressed up like a female spider, it's a drag queen spider, it's hilarious. And that triggers off an emotion of this is laughable, ridiculous and silly, which creates the thought of, I wish I'd got over this years ago, I'm so glad they don't bother me anymore. Because the reaction's completely different because of the way it's wired up. So the key is the image in here. And the unconscious, subconscious mind, call it what you will, the filing cabinet, your personal desktop computer's hard drive, works on visual imagery. And that's why, and I repeat myself again, I know I do, but it's so important. The more ridiculous, bizarre, outrageous, surreal, unusual that the visual imagery is that you can create to override the program that's already there, because that program, remember, they've got the pattern matching bit. It's currently got a lot of emotion attached to it, either positively or negatively. And the reason I said positively or negatively, I'll explain. Obviously it's negative in the spider example, but in their brain they might currently have it, you know, justify it to themselves as being positive because it's keeping them safe, the false thing. Although rationally, consciously, they know they're going to be fine. But knowing that consciously on its own is not enough, because the program that's running is far stronger. And when the imagination, and MLQA said this as well, it's the law of reversed effort, what resists persists, the whole thing about try that I mentioned yesterday. When the imagination and the human will or conscious mind are in conflict, the imagination will always win. And if you want to prove that to yourself in a most interesting manner, get, that's an A4 sheet of card, but go and get, I'm going to try, this is ridiculous, no, I can't get my leg in the air that far, so I'm not going to try anymore. Imagine my foot's that big, it's slightly bigger, but you can see that, generally speaking, there will be absolutely no problem safely standing on something this width. No chance would I, if that was flat, steady and firm, slip off that way or that way, because there's plenty of room. And were there a nice thick wooden beam, but on the floor that was maybe 20 foot long, I'm sure everybody would be more than happy to stand on it and walk across the wooden beam because there's loads of space either side of the foot and it's really solid. Nothing to be scared of, it's not going to break, you know for a fact it can't break, it's nice thick, solid wood, it's thicker than most bridges and it's plenty wide enough for your foot. Trust me, most people will quite happily do that. Now, if that was to be supported, i.e. one end of it but on the side of this skyscraper building and the other one but on skyscraper building that's about 18 foot away, so there's a good foot of overhang either side so that the board is completely steady and firm. And you know full well you can safely walk across this because you've done it numerous times while it's laid on the floor, but now you are 20 stories in the air. But the weather forecast has been done. You've got the best experts in the world that prove to you that it's not windy, you're not going to get blown off. That in every possible way, other than the plank, is not on the floor, it's across two buildings. So for the 18 foot in between the two buildings, there's nothing either side and nothing underneath for that 20 stories of height. There are very few people on this planet. Tightrope walkers, not a problem. People who are already programmed psychologically for extreme sports, not a problem. But there's very, very few people who would A, be gutsy enough to give that a go, because although their conscious mind will go, it's a piece of piss this, and even if you offered them like $1 million, most people wouldn't attempt to do it, because even though consciously they're going, it's no different than it being on the floor, and it really isn't in this example. But their unconscious mind will start to conjure up the image and focus on, well, if I did fall though, 20 stories, I'd be dead, splat, and it conjures up that horrible mental image. And in a split second, in the back of their mind, they will have been shown an image of them splattered like a pancake, blood and guts everywhere. Like I talked about, extreme imagery. That's what we're wired up like as human beings. And they would be saying to themselves, having an internal battle, I could do it and try not to fall off, but the moment they say try to themselves, they're entertaining the possibility of doubt, and then ultimately, most people just wouldn't even try it. And of the ones that, if people did, the vast majority would probably fall off, purely because they'd entertained the possibility suddenly it was possible, and there's no logical reason why they should, because of what I've already explained. Such is the power of negative, in that case, negative suggestion. Such is the power of emotion. Such is the power of extreme visual imagery, which is why I talked about the things I did yesterday and I will be doing later with CMT, and that is why I say fuck what your conventional arty-farty therapy courses may have told you. The more extreme, outrageous, unusual, bizarre and sickeningly painful the imagery can be, with positive intent to help the client, the far better, more rapid and long-term results you are likely to get for them. And that's very important when you're looking at that ape-tamed or apet. You've got to change the pattern matching, and the more extreme the image, because the one they've got at the minute is they want to get rid of. So that's already got a lot of power and energy connected to it. So it needs more power and more energy to obliterate that one and get replaced. I hope you can see the logic and sense in that, because I promise you that that is such an important key here. Okay. Shout out to a friend of mine, Carl Smith, who runs the UK Hypnosis Academy. He's only been doing therapy for a handful of years. I'm not saying that to be offensive, I'm just saying that, you know, I've forgotten more than most trainers out there ever will. But he's come up with a title, a name for his therapeutic approach, which, to be honest, the simple fact is there's nothing new under the sun. All the approaches that actually truly work for the reasons that I've told you yesterday, I'm telling you today, and will tell you over the next couple of days. It's just most of the people training them don't understand that fully themselves, because if they did, they might actually have the balls to teach their students to actually be a bit more ballsy and gutsy with the visual imagery and the suggestions and the stuff to get better and more consistent results for the clients. But they don't know. Hey-oh. Anyway, he called his rebranded package of stuff that's been around forever and a day Kinetic Shift. And no offence, it works for him just as well as anything works when you do it right. But it always makes me giggle in cyclists, and it's always about shit. And it's the metaphor. Kinetic means movement. Shift means movement. And when you go to the toilet for a shit, you have a bowel movement. Okay. Also, strangely, quaintly, coincidentally, shift, take the letter F out, and it becomes shit, which ties in with the bowel movement. And you could metaphorically say that a client, when they come to you, we know really it's about them letting go of that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret, leaving the baggage behind and going out and doing what they could have always done themselves. So it's like getting rid of the shit, or getting their shit together. The reason you hear these phrases in everyday life is because metaphorically, deep down, people know unconsciously they are the ones who need to get their shit together, or they are the ones that need to leave shit behind. Metaphors people use in life, you know, say someone's a pain in the neck, you know, they've got a pain in the neck, often it can be associated with the place where they feel that pain. It could be the workplace, it could be their unconscious trying to tell them, get a different fucking job. And the movement, kinetic and shift, again, is movement. Well, that's what you're doing with any form of therapy. That's why I say there's nothing new under the sun. You're getting someone to shift from one set of thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions, beliefs to another. And you're doing that through the manipulation of pain and pleasure, positive and negative, as we spoke about yesterday. And I've given you more examples of today, I hope, that have made sense to you. So then, when that movement occurs, when you've gone for a right good shit, it feels like a massive weight off your mind, you know? Doesn't it? You know, you feel like there, hey, feeling good, fantastic. And that's what the therapeutic process is. Your client comes to you constipated, we give them some words, metaphors, some crazy shit that lets them literally get rid of their shit and really, you know, leave all that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret behind, so they can leave your office feeling a hell of a lot lighter, leaving it behind. Continuing with the shit theme, again And don't bother spending money on learning kinetic shift. No offence to the technique, but the fact is by the end of this 4 days, if you study the stuff that I'm giving you free with it as well in the group, you'll know how to do every therapeutic technique on the planet anyway, because you just look at a video of somebody doing it on YouTube and you'll instantly know how it's done, because they're all just important seeming crazy rituals that have no particular real worth in them other than if the client attaches worth to it, which they're likely to do if the important authority figure says with enough conviction and confidence, and that they rationalise it therefore to themselves that they must be doing that crazy illogical shit for a good reason, and that logical reason must be because it works, at which point they've convinced themselves that it does work and therefore it becomes their reality. Okay, I've got written down here BLS, havening. Havening! A technique that Paul McKenna's used quite a lot in recent years. In fact, if you go on YouTube and type in Paul McKenna havening demonstration, there is a lovely little demonstration where he teaches you through the screen how to use havening with the BLS, which I remember BLS, the letters, as standing in my head mentally for Big Load of Shit. Big Load of Shit. BLS. But as you'll see when you watch the video, actually it stands for Beach, Lawn, Steps, to remember the order. But I'll tell you what, you'll remember the order better now that I've told you it's Big Load of Shit. I'll tell you, honestly you will, because that further proves that weird imagery sticks in your head more. They use it with memory systems called mnemonics to remember full decks of cards, World Memory Champion. It's a lot easier than you'd think. And if you're in the boot camp, there's an entire course teaching you all that stuff and demonstrating it. If you're not in the boot camp, I predict a lot of you will be by midnight on Wednesday, because you'll want to save yourself thousands of dollars and pounds on what it usually costs. So with havening, what you'll see Paul do is effectively tell the person to take a nice deep breath in, close their eyes, and try and get a sense and a feeling of that problem, that issue, that you know, the emotions connected to it. And then he'll get them to open their eyes and he'll go, on a scale of 0 down here to 10 up here, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how high up that scale would you say it is right now, those thoughts, feelings, you know, all that? And the person says maybe 8, 9, 10, sometimes they say 11, but it's a high number. And then he says, okay, look at me, give yourselves a kind of a hug, okay, but what you're actually doing is, sorry, when I say hug, it's like that. What you're going to do is kind of rub up and down the side of your arm. So I'm making sure that camera can see, and now I'm going to make sure this one can. So they're going to rub up and down the side of their arms, albeit they'll be against the chest when they do this. It's just, obviously for the sake of the webcam, I've got to show you that. But when you see it on the office cam, that'll be replayed tomorrow, you'll see it more clearly. But they're rubbing up and down the side of their arms. At the same time as which, so he's doing that and he gets them to do that 10 times, while at the same time as they're doing that, he puts his finger out and gets them to stare at his fingertip, and he says, when I move my finger that way, you move your eyes that way, when I move my finger that way, you move your eyes that way. So whilst they're rubbing their arms up and down like that, at exactly the same time, they're also going left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right with the eyes, as he's telling them to imagine, in the first instance, as he counts from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1, I forget, you'll have to watch the video, that they're going along a beach. And then he does another round or repetition of it, where again, arm rubbing, eyes following, but this time they're going along a lawn with fresh dew on the grass. Actually, I woke up this morning, I looked out the window, there was a heavy dew on the grass. He must have got chucked out of the synagogue for swearing. I don't know. If there's any Jewish people watching, sorry if you're offended, get a sense of fucking humour. Right, anyway, I'll offend everyone by the end of the weekend, I promise you. Yeah, the point was, so big load of shit. Beach, lawn, and then, again, still rubbing, eyes to the left, eyes to the right, to the count of 10, steps, going up steps to their new life or down them. I forget which way Paul does it. Personally, I'd definitely say it would be going up the steps, because you want the metaphor of going upwards towards something positive and new. Whereas going downstairs is more going down to sleep at night. The hypnotic suggestion, that's why that way, going down the staircase for the hypnotic deepener with the hypnotic induction process. And at the end of this, it will say to them, okay, now close your eyes and just try. Now that's Emile Coué's law of reversed effort again, anyway, that we've already spoken about. Just try to get a sense of a feeling like you used to be able to do before. Like you used to be able to do is disassociation in one regard, making out that they can't do it anymore, and it's future pacing the idea as well that the reaction's going to be different. And then just open your eyes, look at me, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 down here, nothing. Sorry, 10 up here is the worst it ever was, 0 down here, nothing. Whereabouts on that scale are you right now? And invariably they will give a lower number. It can be a much lower number, or it could just be a bit lower. But the moment they do, they genuinely believe a change has taken place, because the proof is they've got a lower number because they felt different. They've got some proof, some tangible evidence. Hope that makes sense. And that's why Havening's been so successful. But I'm going to give you the key to how it works right now, so you don't need to waste a fortune on Havening training. The first thing I recommend you do is go on hypnosisweek.com, www.hypnosisweek.com, or go on magicalguru.com and click on where it says Hypnosis Week. Then that will take you to YouTube. On YouTube, on my Celebrity Hypnotist channel, there is a playlist called Hypnosis Week. In there is an interview I did with Stephen Travers from Ireland, a wonderful, nice guy. He is the European Head of Training and Promotion for Havening. He appears with McKenna at the Havening conferences. He's the top guy for Europe for Havening. And I interviewed him and I put it to him that Havening is nothing more than a placebo effect, important seeming ritualistic process, that it's only real worth, and I'm going to tell you one of the secrets now, is that when you rub yourself like that, you're effectively giving yourself, when you get in that kind of straitjacket position, we'll call it, with the arms moving, yeah? You're giving yourself a hug. And consciously you know it's you doing it, but your unconscious mind doesn't. It feels as though you're being given a hug by somebody else. It feels as though you're getting sensory touch from somebody, which, in a hug scenario, releases, genuinely, physiologically releases the chemical oxytocin into your body, which is a feel-good chemical. Now, it has other benefits as well. For example, I can tell you for sure, anyone who's in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, if you look at the, I think it's the Hypnotism Exposed video set, but it's one that was at a London seminar. There is a professional midwife of many years in the audience. She confirms everything I'm about to say to be true at that event. And that is that, the birthing process, if a woman's waiting to have a kid, you can make them, you know, if they're over their due time, you can speed up the process of them actually starting to have the child by oxytocin getting released, which can happen through hugging, or as she related at the event, I kid you not, it's on the videos in the boot camp, but we often send out the pregnant ladies off into the hospital grounds where there's some privacy and tell the husbands to give them a good old bit of nipple play, because that also releases oxytocin and promotes a more speedier and less problematic birth. But we're not here to discuss hypnobirthing. You can learn about that in the boot camp with backup advice from a midwife of many, many, many years experience. Sorry I keep feeding these what appear like adverts for the boot camp in, but they're not. They're actually valuable bits of information for you. So that's, I put it to him that oxytocin release, yeah, will make them feel good. And that's being anchored to the positive metaphors of, you know, you're walking along the beach, it's lovely and warm, it's a lawn in the morning, but you make the description that it's lovely, and you've got to paint a picture with your words, a positive one. Because if you leave it to them to imagine a lawn, they could imagine a muddy one that's really horrible, or covered in broken glass bottles. You've got to paint the picture and guide them. That is what you do. Your words are your paintbrush as the hypnotist. And then, of course, the steps, but metaphorically rising up above that bothered them in the past. They're going up the steps to their new reality. Arguably, that is what's going on metaphorically and therapeutically with Havening. In truth, there's a part of it, and I put that to him, and he can't admit that I'm 100% right because he's the European Director of Marketing and promotions and all that and training for Havening. But if you know even the tiniest bit about body language, just watch the interview I did with Stephen Travers on Hypnosis Week, and I promise you'll come to the conclusion I'm the one telling you the truth, that it's just an important seeming ritualistic process, and the real ploy, the real trick, which I'm going to tell you before the break, we've got about 7, 8 minutes till the break. Covered hugs and oxytocin there. Oh, the moving eye bits in Havening is akin from and modelled from, so to speak, so-called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprogramming or reprocessing, which again, frankly, is just an important seeming ritualistic process of getting the person to stare at either a pen or your finger or maybe a bright LED torch and tell them to follow it with their eyes when you tell them to, and you go, follow the torch, 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 left and right, 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 left and right. And now just close your eyes and now blink fast, blink fast, blink fast, blink fast. And now look at the light, and left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right, and close your eyes and blink fast, blink fast, blink fast. And now look at the light, left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. And now close your eyes and now blink, 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 blink fast. Close your eyes and try to get a sense of a feeling of what it was like before when it used to bother you. It used to bother you. That's disassociation, disconnecting, and a suggestion of future pacing that is now different. You could argue, and yes, because there might be some worth in that, we do it. However, the big trick is the 0 to 10 that I'm about to teach you. That is the trick that changes the game. Now, I can tell you now, a lot of the people who teach Havening, EMDR, and other therapeutic approaches that use what they call SUDS, the sensory units of distress scale, do not, all of them, use what I'm about to teach you. But I guarantee you this, if they did, they will be better therapists getting better results more consistently and more rapidly. Because I like to see what other people do, take it, tweak it if it needs it, and make it even more powerful and more psychologically tricky, almost. Okay? I'm not going to go through the full example I've given you, I'm just going to give you the bit at the beginning. So before the session, the client has to rate with their eyes closed a mental image of that problem they came with that's now not going to be an issue when they leave you, but to try and get a sense of a feeling of how much it bothered them in the past, when it really was an issue in the past. They close their eyes. They open their eyes and you go, okay, I'd like you to imagine on a scale of 0, and 0's down here, nothing, and all the way up here is 10. The worst it ever was in the past when it really used to bother you. Almost like really pulling your hair out. The worst it ever was. Real extreme. How high is that number now that you just dissociated? And I guarantee you, more often than not, you will get a 9, a 10, or they'll say 11, 12. It's off the scale. Excellent. Whatever it is, you write it down in front of them or ask them to write it down. So there's a visual proof that that's the number they said. And you say to them, is that really true? As though you're accusing them of being a liar. Is that really true? It was really a 12 or it was really a 10, yeah? And they go, yes. So they can't deny that. So that's their benchmark now. You then do your important seeming ritualistic process, which is especially for TV and radio shows. You might only have 5, 10 minutes with them maximum backstage before you go back on air and have to show whether it's worked or not. That's why things like Havening, arm rubbing, eye movement with the thing, cobblers like that can be useful because it's quick. And it will work because of the reasons we've said before, and some that I'll tell you about after the break as well. But it will work immeasurably because of this one. Whatever you do in the middle is not really that important. It's what happens at the end when you say to them, and now just close your eyes and try to get a sense of a feeling like you did before, only notice how much different it is right now. That's an immediate command that it's going to be different, and try implies they won't be able to do it the same as they did. And then you say, now open your eyes, now look at me. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 down here, 10 up there, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst it ever was in the past, And 0 down here is nothing. Gone completely right now. How low is that number gone? I'll do that one more time, because this is worth the price of the entire course. At the beginning, before any ritualistic process that comes in the middle, whatever that is in the middle doesn't matter. At the beginning, close your eyes and get a sense and a feeling of what it was like in the past when it's been the worst for you, this issue, whatever it may be. Now, and that's saying get, which implies they can do. Now, open your eyes. On a scale of 0, down here, to 10 up here, 10 being the worst it ever was in the past, like ripping your hair out, feeling really bad, the worst it ever was, ever could be. How high up is that number now, was it, in terms of what you felt? And you notice I'm physically pointing upwards. I've told them 10's here, and I'm pointing above 10. That's why quite often they'll say higher than a 10. But they're going to give you a high number. But don't worry if they only say a 6. As long as at the end you get a lower number than the one they give you at the start, to them it's psychological proof that a change has happened that's genuine, because they've got evidence, tangible evidence, because they feel different. So, you then do your important seeming ritualistic process, and afterwards you go, okay, now just close your eyes and just try, Emil Ku's law of reversed effort, just try to get a sense of a feeling like you used to be able to do in the past, used to be able to, disassociation, implying you won't be able to, as it once was when it used to be at its worst, used to be implying again. Notice how much different and better that feels right now, direct command, and then just open your eyes, look at me, and on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 up there being the worst it ever was in the past, like pulling your hair out, the worst it ever was, and down here is 0, nothing, gone completely right now. How much lower is that number right now? 99.9% of the time recurring, they will give you a lower number. When they do, you get them to write it down. And you say, look at that. Before you were a 9, 10 or 11 or whatever, and now you're a 7, 6 or 5 or whatever they say. Wow, that's amazing. Look what you've managed to do in the space of just a couple of 2 or 3 minutes. Imagine if you've been able to do that in just 2 or 3 minutes, what you'll be able to do within the next 60 minutes of the time we've got together in this office here today, or over this Zoom interaction, or whatever. And they look at it, they see the numbers, they know they felt them, they know they've told you the truth, and to them they go, fuck me, this is real. They see the evidence, it's changed for them. But it always had to, because the middle bit was just ritualistic process. At the beginning, I said that 0's down. I told them they'd be able to get a sense of a feeling, but I told them that on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 to 10, 0 down here, visually show them it, 10 up here, the worst it's ever been, like pulling your hair out, the worst it's ever been, and I'm pointing upwards above that invisible number. How high up is that number now? So non-verbally, I'm telling them, tell me a high number. And at the end, I've done the opposite. I go, try, which is implying they won't be able to. I use all that disassociative language, which I don't need to repeat because you can watch the videos back when they're in the group tomorrow. And then I go, okay, now open your eyes and look. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 up here, the worst it ever was in the past when it used to bother you, almost like pulling you out, the worst it ever was. And 0 down here, nothing, and I draw a 0, so non-verbally it's nothing, but I also raise my voice a little bit, nothing. And then suddenly, as I make this arm movement, I shout, gone completely now! Gone completely now, because it suddenly said louder and forcefully, becomes a pattern interrupt, as it's called in NLP, and can bypass any critical faculty, go straight into the unconscious mind as a powerful hypnotic command to get rid of that issue. Gone completely now! How much lower is that number right now? And I'm non-verbally saying, say a lower number. Without fail, they have to. And if they don't, you just go through the ritualistic important seeming process again until they get fucking fed up and say a lower number. Once they've said a lower number and they write it down and look at it, and you say to them, you're telling me the truth, aren't you? That number's gone lower, hasn't it? Yeah. Look what you've managed to do in the space of just 3, 4, 5 minutes with my help. Imagine what we can do together. And the reason I make it into you've done in that space, what we can do together, and rather than it all being about me, it's because although I want them to have that ability to go, he helped me do this, and leave the luggage behind, when their friends and family aren't there watching, I want them to feel a sense of empowerment and help increase their self-worth and increase those feelings that we spoke about yesterday with everything we do. I hope that made sense. We've run ever so slightly over the 1/2 but I'll look at my laptop. Actually, on my laptop it is 9:29. It's my watch that's fast. So I've actually managed to keep to time. So we're going to have a 15-minute break. We will start 15 minutes from now, which will be 9:45 p.m. on my laptop. Thank you very much indeed. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves as long as you all go back on silent when I start in 15 minutes time. Cheers.